This is the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you stories from the peak to peak, in print, and online. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area. Hey everyone. We've got a special episode this week from reporter and producer Shay Castle about a story she wrote for the August issue of Caribou Current. I'm taking a back seat for this one. All I'll say here is when you're done listening today, grab a copy of Caribou Current and read her story. It's colorful, fresh, and a beautiful profile of the family of artists that you're about to meet. Before we cut to Shay, here's a quick word from this week's sponsor, the Ned Jazz and Wine Festival. It's almost time for the 5th annual Nederland Jazz and Wine Festival on August 22nd in Chipeta Park. Grab your tickets for a pairing of sips and sounds. Enjoy 6 hours of diverse live jazz featuring soul fusion and R&B melodies from Joe Key, Gabriel Santiago's Brazilian Trio, and headliner River Eckert, playing with his friends from Thievery Corp and the Motet. Browse local art and sample over 100 offerings from wineries, breweries, distilleries, and non-alcoholic makers, with food pairings from oysters to gator. Head to nedjazzwine.com to check if tickets are still available. That's nedjazzwine.com. Now, it's time to meet the family behind Tres Voces.
Without Mark Sandman, without all the people that I've mentioned, I would not be doing this. I would not have the confidence, I would not have the history and the research behind me to know other people have done this. And to be part of that heritage is just great.
That's Cipriano Ortega, discussing his many influences as an artist. Cipriano is one of 3 artists who contributed to BMoCA's summer exhibition, Tres Voces, un Corazon. The other artists whose work are featured in Tres Voces are Cipriano's mother and father, Silvia Montero and Tony Ortega. We'll hear from them in just a minute. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast. I'm Shay Castle. Today, we're exploring the work behind the work with all 3 Tres Voces artists. It's the cover story for the August edition of Caribou Current, out now. You can and should read that to get a sense of what the exhibition is all about. We thought we'd do something a little different with the podcast story. Regular readers of The Current will know about our recurring feature, Under the Influence, where we interview musicians about the songs, albums, and artists they draw inspiration from. We thought we'd do the same with Cipriano, Silvia, and Tony. It's our first time branching out to other artistic disciplines, and we could not have picked better subjects. The trio draw heavily from the past and their peers in their work, particularly Cipriano. His list of influences is long. During the hour I spent interviewing Cipriano, he referenced Leonard Cohen, Maya Angelou, Robert Johnson, Hank Williams, Marlon Brando, William Burroughs, Kurt Cobain, Lane Staley, Robbie Krieger from The Doors, and, as you heard earlier, Mark Sandman, frontman of 90s rock band Morphine. Here's Cipriano talking about another musical artist who inspired his work for BMoCA.
Jack White has been a huge influence since college. His whole song that he has, very short, it's literally just him acoustically or just singing his voice, and Meg's on the drums. There's no guitar, but it's called Little Room.
Well, you're in your little room and you're working on something good, but if it's really good, you're gonna need a bigger room. And when you're in the bigger
And it's just about the whole idea of developing ideas in a little room and bringing them out forth into the world. So I wanted to kind of create a similar space in the installation.
Cipriano is referencing the main set piece he created for the BMoCA exhibition, a one-sided home called Lolo House. Inside is a 1-string bass he built. Music from his band, Los Lolos, plays over the speakers. Poetry he wrote is pasted on the walls. Elsewhere in the museum are his paintings. Raised by 2 artists, Cipriano is a master of multiple disciplines. He first displayed his work in a gallery when he was in 3rd grade, a selection of puppets. He was steeped in the arts in a way few children are.
We've always encouraged our son to be in theater or be a vocalist. So it's always been a family. It's always been, even though we're visual artists and a musician, we've always been interested in the arts. We made a conscious decision not to have cable. We more or less restricted his TV watching to videos and or PBS. I would always try to get him toys where he could build or be creative, Legos and Tinker Toys. And for the things he would see, he would make costumes. So I remember taking him to secondhand stores and buying garments, or he would borrow some of Sylvia's clothes. And he was always inventing. So I remember being a kid, and that was just like the most exciting part of being a kid, is just being able to create your own inner creative world and expressing that through changing a costume.
He just has always been a hands-on creator since he's a little tiny thing. I mean, I have some little animals he used to sew with his Aunt Pauline that he knew were very minimal. They're still really beautiful, and I have them. But he just constantly was building, and we would buy him toys, but then he would remake the toy.
Still to this date, there's never been a movie-accurate Woody doll that Disney has ever produced. They've always been not quite right to the original. And as of recent, obviously, Toy Story 5 came out, but I've discovered this subculture on YouTube. These adults make film-accurate Woodies now.
Oh,
I'm like, see, I was way ahead of the curve when I was a little kid, and I have my quote-unquote, little kid version of the Woody movie-accurate Woody, so I just,
That's Tony and Sylvia, Cipriano's parents. All three of them live in the same house in North Denver, where they each have separate studio spaces. Tony and Sylvia are Cipriano's biggest influences. You can see that when you compare Tony and Cipriano's paintings: bright colors, visible brushstrokes, and often faceless men and women. Tony says growing up in Colorado and New Mexico impacted the way he views and uses color.
I think probably my use of color would be different had I grown up in Seattle or the East Coast or the Midwest or something like that. I mean, Colorado is just well known for the number of days that you get sunshine. And, being from New Mexico, just another place of sunshine. And the plains are just, Lewis and Clark call it a great American desert. New Mexico, they call it a high mountain desert. So, it's dry and lots of light. So I think that's influenced me.
Tony's Tres Voces pieces are the exhibition's most vivid, from piñatas to paintings and video installations. All have an undercurrent of humor and a strong narrative thread running through them, with sharp socio-political critique. That's reflective of the show as a whole, which meditates on culture, belonging, and, of course, family.
All three of us have such great social conscientiousness that it comes out almost all the time with his work, with my work, with Tony's work, or who we help, or people that we need help, or whatever. And so I think that inspiration is probably just from regular people, everyday people.
Like her son, Sylvia claims many influences. Her first love was black and white television journalism.
Good evening from our CBS newsroom in New York.
But she parlayed into black and white photography. She still has her first ever camera, purchased in high school. She used it to take the series of photographs that form the bulk of her Tres Voces work, depicting daily life in Cuba.
Cuba was a very big, inspiring place for me because of how they make things work, even though they don't have anything, and the inhumanity that this country shows to the Cuban people. So those kind of people give me inspiration as well, and keeps me kind of going, doing our works and things.
Despite her love for black and white photography and documenting reality, it was actually a fantastical, colorful oil painting that awakened Sylvia as an artist. The Dream by Henry Rousseau.
When I was a young child, it started kind of like my own little way of finding myself and what I wanted to do as an artist, because I knew I wanted to be one since I was very young. That came from going to a thrift store in our neighborhood, and I found a Rousseau image, a poster that just stunned me, floored me to death. As a kid, I'm like, whoa, what is this? What is it?
What was the image?
It was the one where the woman is reclining on the couch with the lion looking at her with the moon. It's in the jungle, and it's one of Rousseau's. And that kind of really powered me, and I've always been a very visual person, even as a child.
Sylvia's biggest influence, though, was her dance teacher, Jane Tannenbaum.
She was in her 70s at the time when I was studying with her. She was like the first dance instructor ever that I had. For almost 15 years, did not see me as a brown woman. The others were just like, oh, you're not black enough. Oh, you're just, you're Latina. Latinos don't dance. So it was kind of really complex, but Janie was never like that. And of course, her technique was so superb. It helped me with my back issues that I had as a child. So she's definitely the person, Jane Tannenbaum, that inspires me. Very inspirational for me. Changed my life, that little woman.
Yeah.
She definitely changed my life.
Tony's biggest influence was a member of his family, his grandmother, a seamstress and storyteller. She raised Tony and was his first introduction to art, much like he would introduce his own son to life as an artist decades later.
She did everything from alterations to making clothes to quilting to embroidery, crochet. So I always grew up around her making objects, making utilitarian objects. I remember literally being underneath a sewing machine cabinet while she was sewing and bothering her for needle and thread and obviously interrupting her work. And she was also quite a storyteller, or basically she told me things that happened when she was young, when my mom and my uncles, her brothers, were young, growing up in Pecos, New Mexico. So I think that when I would listen to those stories, I would visualize them in my head, or visualize what it was like. 'Cause I'd experienced Pecos also, so I could see her house, or I could see relatives' houses as she would tell the stories. So that was very important to me, in that I wanted to be a person making objects, or eventually making art. That should be my biggest influence. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what was her name?
Trini Ortega. Mm. Yeah.
Thank you.
Or Trinidad would be her name. Trinidad.
Let me sit here, sit and stew.
See more from Tony, Sylvia, and Cipriano at Tres Voces, un Corazon, running through September 13th at the Boulder Museum of Contemporary Art. BMoCA is also hosting a series of events, like poetry workshops, concerts from Cipriano's band, and other ways to interact with the art and artists. Visit bmoca.org for details, or check out my story in the August issue of Caribou Current, out now.
Thanks, Shay. As she mentioned, you can read the full story for free in this month's edition of Caribou Current, or at cariboucurrent.com. And a huge thanks to Cipriano, Sylvia, and Tony for being so open and letting us behind the curtain to help tell this story. I highly recommend checking the exhibit out. BMoCA is donation-based, so pay what you can to see the incredible and diverse art before the exhibit closes in September. As always, if you liked today's episode, please share it around. It's the best thing you can do to help us grow. You can subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts to get these stories the moment they hit the airwaves. And make sure to pick up a copy of Caribou Current too. It's packed with profiles on local musicians, authors, and every concert and event happening this month that you won't want to miss. One last thing, we've got Mountaineer booths at the Ned Farmers Market, and we'll be at the Ned Jazz and Wine Festival too later this month. If you're a regular listener, stop by and say hi. We'd love to meet the folks who make this possible. Once again, this is the Mountaineer Podcast. I'm Tyler Hickman. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
City back to my hometown. Everything seemed different but the same. I can't tell if anything's changed or just the inside of my head. I can't find out tonight. I'll just keep drinking instead.